Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to our Workday live demo. I'm Michelle, a product marketing manager here at Payslip. I'm delighted to be joined today by Mark, our VP of Sales, and Nigel, our product solutions consultant here at Payslip. Just before we get started with a few housekeeping points, there's quite a lot of people on today, so we have everybody muted except for our panel. But we have, you can pop any questions or comments that you want into the Q&A box, and we'll have time allocated for this at the end, so no questions will go unanswered. So if we just move on to the agenda. So thank you for joining us today. We've had a fantastic start to the year here at Payslip with our recent announcement of the Workday Global Payroll certification. This means even more forward momentum for Payslip. So this ongoing partnership makes Payslip the perfect solution for organizations to digitize global payroll management and giving them visibility and reporting. And we're delighted to show you this all live today. So in today's call, we want to talk a little bit about Payslip's partnership with Workday, how working together, this technology partnership can solve your global payroll operations. We will show you some of the product features, the integration capabilities in the live demo phase, about our future plans for collaboration. And now I'm going to hand you over to Mark and to Nigel to set the scene and to bring you inside the platform. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Michelle, and hello, everybody. I had the pleasure of working for Workday for 9 years as Alliances Manager for Workday's Global Payroll Partner Program, the Global Payroll Cloud, or GPC. This is a very fine partner program whereby Workday's partners build Workday integration systems that live on the customer's Workday tenant and produce an output file called PECHI. PECHI stands for Payroll Effective Change Interface, and it is the output of the Workday CCTPP SKU. CCTPP stands for Cloud Connect for third-party payroll. PECHI is an XML file that contains all the changes for a particular pay group for a particular period. Workday trawls through the event log, and any changes that happened on Workday for that employee cohort, such as joiners, leavers, payment elections, org changes, one-time payments, etc., are reported out on that PECHI file. The file is delivered to the payroll partner, and the partner is then responsible for correctly interpreting that file and updating its database. The partner-built connectors are tested by Workday to make sure that they work correctly against a wide range of test scenarios, and if everything is good, Workday certifies the connector. Workday has about 20 certified partners, of whom Payslip is one. I might be biased, but I think the GPC program is great. But when I speak to Workday customers, they often report a couple of challenges. Firstly, not all the data needed to process payroll is on Workday. There are other data sources, things like taxable benefits or bonus payment data, that may not come from Workday for all customers. It's fair to say that not all customers are using PECHI files for all of their countries. Instead, some customers use standard Workday reports, like joiner and leaver reports. So the integration challenge is complex. You have to start by locating the system of record for each data element. We all know that global payroll is complex, and it's not just about transferring data from your HRIS to your vendor. I believe that global payroll is an orchestration challenge. Data comes from multiple sources. It must be cleansed and checked. It must be approved by a manager. It must be sent to each country for calculations. Then the calculations must be checked, and variance reports are run to identify anomalies. Errors must be corrected, and payroll then must be recalculated. And finally, when we're all done, the employee payslips must be delivered to that employee and payments dispersed. And all the while, the local regulations that are different in each jurisdiction must be complied with. So there's a tricky orchestration challenge to be faced. Everything involving payroll is subject to audit, so the data, the who did what, when, and why, must be recorded. In fact, one of the challenges of global payroll is how to report in a consistent and timely manner across geographies, languages, hundreds of pay elements, and multiple currencies in an error-free manner. I'll take the next slide, please, Nigel. Thank you. The alliance between Payslip and Workday solves these challenges. We believe that global payroll should be driven from Workday, either using our certified PECHI connector or by an EIB integration that consumes Workday reports. This eliminates manual data input. Workday is your system of record for your HR data, and the data should just flow from there. When the file comes onto Payslip, we validate the data using our AI tools in real time. We transform and store the data on our database in a standard way for the globe using a data classification or taxonomy that allows a like-for-like comparison of data elements. The Payslip platform has a workflow engine that allows you to standardize workflows for all countries while allowing for local variations. Data sets can be analyzed and approved within the platform and delivered to your local payroll vendors in each country in the format of their choosing. Payslip is vendor agnostic, and you can choose the vendor in each country that best meets your needs for each individual client. Being vendor agnostic makes us unique in the Workday partner ecosystem. We don't do any gross to net calculations. Instead, we work with your chosen vendors. Because of this unique proposition, Workday consider Payslip to be what they call a strategic partner for purpose. We are able to ingest the gross to net results file from your local vendor, and this is how we solve the last mile problem. We also take the legally compliant employee payslips from those vendors, and we call Workday's APIs to push the payslips back onto Workday so that you have a consistent employee experience across the globe. This helps increase employee engagement with Workday, and this in turn leads to greater adoption and hence greater data quality. Payslip is to global payroll data and processes what Workday is to HR data and processes. It's a place for your data and processes to live in the cloud and where you can carry out your reporting and analysis. We believe that we are unique in this regard, giving you one global consolidated view of all your data. You can report across the globe on a like-for-like basis down to the individual pay element level. Because we have a single Workday global, Workday certified integration and a series of last mile integrations, we are able to implement our platform in a frictionless way. This is not rip and replace. We work with your existing vendors and allow you to measure their performance and switch them out if required. Next slide, please there, Nigel. Thank you. The diagram above, the diagram we're looking at, illustrates the data flows across the platform. On the left, we see the different sections of the Peachy file connector that have been certified by Workday, and that data is complemented by data from other sources and delivered to the local vendor. In the reverse direction, data and payslips and tax documents flow back to the Payslip platform and thence on to Workday. As Rob Bolt said in the previous webinar in this series, Payslip is a central hub for the payroll data. In this slide, if you go to the Workday community and you search the term GPC, there's a page that lists the certified connectors and which of the Workday features are supported. I showed this slide for reference. As you can see, it's a bit of an eye test, and I won't bore you with the details, but you can see the various sections of the Peachy file: compensation data, corrections, dependent data, leave of absence, one-time payments, position data, recurring earnings and deductions, and rescinds. These are the features that are tested by Workday. There are over 60 tests that Workday carries out before they certify the connector. I would now like to hand over to Nigel to demonstrate some of these features.
Thank you very much. Moving then into the platform demo section of our webinar here. Just want to frame this first portion. So one of two parts. I want to outline how our Workday integrations, including Peachy, Peacock, Workday reports, how we can easily extract data in an automated way from Workday. All of the payroll-related changes for that period automatically brought to Payslip, verified and validated by our robotic process automation, and ready in Payslip for you to run your payroll. So coming out of the slides here, I'm going to switch now to our Workday tenant and the Payslip platform. As most of you might know, Workday is quite pernickety and has logged me out already. So we'll give this a sec and give my internet a chance to catch up. But what I want to show you today, I'm going to keep it super simple, just given the time we have, 30, 40 minutes of a live demonstration. Data coming from Workday into Payslip, out to your third-party vendors, as you saw in Mark's diagram, and back, and how they flow all the way backwards. What I did this morning was I set up a new joiner in my Workday tenant. So I logged in, I filled an open role with this chap here, Mark Schymans, in our Dutch entity. So I created him, he was a pre-hire, I approved it, he was then soon to be an employee. So you can see the information I added here about him, in particular his job details. He's part of our Benelux pay group. This is the ID Workday have given him. So let's keep an eye on that. That will be our key identifier for some of the later processes. And you can see here that his hire date is in a couple of days' time. So we're at the end of February. I don't want to process February's payroll. I'm going to, for this webinar, let's do a demonstration in March. So I've given him a hire date of the 3rd of March, and you can see here his length of service is currently 0. Other information, his address and his contact information. He's got his, he's based once again in the Netherlands. So what happened in the meantime? So I created him in Workday, and I'm coming now as a payroll lead. I'm logging into the Payslip platform. I know that HR have set up the new joiner. I come now and I've logged in. I'm logged in as Stephen in this particular scenario. I'm responsible for APAC and EMEA of my company's global payrolls. And this is what I'm looking at on a day-to-day basis in the Payslip platform. You'll see most of these payrolls are March. We've completed February. We're on the final stages of any February payrolls, but let's look at March for our demonstration today. This Dutch payroll, it's nice and small, just to keep things simple, is going to be the one we'll focus on. As Mark mentioned, there's a standardized workflow for every payroll, allowing you to track progress completion. These get redder as I fail to complete actions on time. My manager is getting email alerts and so on if I'm overdue with actions. So that entire workflow is driven from here. We're at the input stage of my fictional company. You can see my name here, Stephen, is appearing. This is due in a couple of days. I need to review all of the joiners and leavers that have come automatically from my HCM, from Workday in this case. Quiva is way ahead. She's completed her tasks already. So let's start this task and show you how the Workday integration actually works. I'm going to come here to the files option of my Dutch entity. And already I'm starting to see what's been happening. In the inputs tab, I see, aha, here's an input coming from our Workday integrator. And here's the timestamp. So I created them this morning. It just so happens that our automated connector pulls from Workday at midday here at Payslip, but that was at noon. Most of our clients will schedule this overnight. So all of the changes you made the day before will come into Payslip on a nightly basis, or perhaps every couple of days. It's up to you. It'll be automated and scheduled. In this scenario, this was the Peachy file that we have enabled. It could be a Workday report. In this scenario, we've used Peachy in the Netherlands here. And every time Payslip takes an input into the platform, including these Workday inputs, we will run validations and issue this validations report to tell you what happened. Is this joiner fully complete? Is it accurate? Is it a duplicate? Is there a conflict with IDs or email addresses? All those types of validations are run, and any errors will be shown to you here. There's no errors with this one. There'll be a flag and alert, so on, if it was a failure. But my job is Stephen. I'm logging in. I will check my pay run file. This is where my data gets hosted and stored in Payslip. As Mark said, it's very structured and standardized. Here's that new joiner. We'll look at the Peachy file in just a second, but here he is. He lives in my pay run file now. So my payroll data is starting to be gathered here. My HR data in Workday, payroll data flowing through to here. And you will see other information like salary, car allowance, and so on have come from Workday, and they'll be structured accordingly. You have the local language term in Dutch for salary here, and it's mapping back to these global English terms, the standardized data storage that Mark mentioned. This makes reporting super, super easy here. Scrolling across, you'll see other items, some of them yet to be completed and so on, travel allowances and these types of things listed here as well. But the important thing for me to check is, have my joiners and leavers arrived accurately? Here I can see Mark has arrived, and let's look at the actual data itself. We'll have a look at the Peachy file. Not a lot of people look at these too often, but this is going to be that XML file that Mark mentioned. Don't be alarmed, it's simply a way for two systems to communicate to each other in a very structured way. This is very straightforward. I'm just going to show you that here. Here's when the integration triggered. It's in my Dutch entity, and it identified a worker count of 1. So we had 1 worker included in this particular PG. Data in Workday changes related to just one worker, and that person is here, Mark Shimons. And those same addresses and so on, you'll see them flowing through from Workday into the PG file and ultimately into Payslip here as well, all of the payroll related data. That was the mechanism in which the data came over. It was important then to check that the data is accurate and correct, and the structure of the file was as we expected. There wasn't any key information missing. So this is where the validation report comes into play. I'll open this. This tells you what happened. This particular one is quite straightforward. It's going to be a success. And if you're able to see this, hopefully you are. Again, workforce recognized in that input file was 1. It was a success. And I like this tab the best. It shows you exactly what happened. Here's the employee's Workday ID. So a key piece of information we need from the Workday file. We use that to create the employee. If I click here, you'll see that their first name was Mark and surname Simons. Assigned them to the Dutch payroll, added their salary, created their bank account. They banked with ING in this scenario. And here, once again, is the address record added in Payslip. So taking me far longer to explain than to how long it actually took to occur. So in summary, the data from Workday came automatically into Payslip via a PG file. You'll see our Workday integrator picked up that PG file when it was automatically created by Workday, captured all of the payroll changes since the last time it was run, and it brought Mr. Shimons here into our pay run file. What would happen next on the payroll or the pay run is we're going to process this Dutch payroll and just show you what's going to happen, what the tools we have, the analysis tools, how we get data in here, and then ultimately push some of the results back into Workday. So we've seen how we get data from Workday. We know that not all of your data lives in Workday. You might have bonuses, commissions, health benefits, other types of payroll inputs. They'll all get populated here much in a similar way. We'll take the data format from whatever system or whatever Excel spreadsheet, and we will ingest it automatically. And we'll start to populate that data here. Things like bonuses or commissions, they might not be in Workday. They will get populated here. Once you're happy that all of those inputs have been ingested, that there was no errors in the validation report, you can start to move this payroll forward, move the workflow forward from step A. In this scenario, I've checked my joiner and leaver validation report. I saw that the joiner was added successfully. I know that there are no other workers in Workday to worry about that need to be added. So I can mark this step closed, moving it from step A to step B. Here, the approval step. This Mark Simon's favorite step of all. I'm going to show some variance reports, how you can look at data changes. I might want to look at in this Dutch payroll again, just the things that have changed between this period and last period. Salaries typically stay the same. I don't want to see them. I just want to see the variable changes, the delta, as well as new joiners. That's in this report. I like showing this variance report here. This is going to compare this period with last period by default, but you can set it up to compare any period you want, this period and last year, this period and the last 3 years. This is all during step B, the analyze and approve step. So this report, typically downloaded into Excel by our clients, this is going to show me here for Hans and for Lottie. It's going to compare this period with last period. So here is February's payroll, and here's March, and here's any differences. Don't have anything populated in the first few rows, but let's scroll across. Not looking amazing here, but looking at it in system is typically a bit more difficult, but I can see his salary has unchanged between this period and last. Any variances would jump out to you here, such as this person. Their holiday pay was this, is this in March, and it's this last period. Aha, a difference of 200. I would take these variances, obviously holiday pay is a very variable item, and I would add business justification then, commentary into the platform, so that my manager, when they're coming to finally approve this payroll, they would understand why there's a variance for this particular person and a variance therefore in the overall holiday pay or payout vacation hours, because I've justified why this has changed. lots more we can do in the step B process, but ultimately, if I'm happy with all of the inputs that are listed here, I could progress this payroll forward. So let's imagine I'm pretty happy. Let's try and do payroll in a day here. And I have all of my inputs added. I've checked the variances. I'm happy that they're all accurate. In that case, I could go back to the workflow and I could mark this step completed once again. So move it from step B to step C. And let's have a look what happens then. This will take 2 to 3 seconds. A couple of things have happened in the background here. The first is the payroll file. This lock over here, it's now locked for inputs. We've created inputs version 1. It's closed, it's locked. If anyone were to unlock this, add an input and close it again, the ICP would receive inputs version 2. So you've edited something in the file and you've locked it again, creating a second version. So those types of data changes are very closely tracked. The second thing that's happened is the payroll partner, my in-country provider. Payslip does not do calculations. We will not do the payroll calculations for you. As Mark mentioned, you will have a network of in-country providers. In this case, your Dutch payroll partner will receive these inputs from Payslip in whatever format they need, and they will begin to process the payroll. So their action in this particular workflow is to produce gross to net version 1, the tax calculation. There's all my inputs. Now I want to upload a gross to net file that contains how much tax is being paid, how much pension contributions, and so on. They're all going to be in that file. I can't change this. This is up to the payroll partner to do that action. I can also communicate with the payroll partner in country, just that Dutch team, through the notes tool here. And you will see that today I left them a note and I said, hey, the inputs will be ready at the end of this week. And they said, excellent, we'll begin working as soon as we receive them. Pretty basic there, but as the payroll progresses, they can say, hey, what was with that input of 100? That's usually 1,000, or any other questions or compliance items you might have. You could tag them all here. They will be logged against the Dutch payroll for March, and you would choose to notify somebody. So it could be your manager, and the in-country partner will get an email alert to say Nigel or Stephen left them a note, and it will be tagged against the March payroll. If you wanted to have a question about February's payroll, you would go back to close pay runs, you would open that payroll into the notes and leave them a note there again. So all of the communication relating to a particular payroll is tagged and grouped together. It's visible for everyone who has access, and you can simply choose or annoy by the notifying, annoy 1 or 2 people, not annoy the 10 people who might have access to that particular payroll. So a handy communication tool, especially useful during audit time. You can show your auditors, aha, go back to October 2020. There's all the communication relating to that payroll and the questions we had. That's why we did XYZ in a certain way. In this case, my job as Stephen, I've reviewed the inputs, I've checked for variances, I've compared it with different periods. I'm now happy. I can sit back and relax until the gross to net calculations arrive. We can do that here today on this webinar. I'm going to show you that as an employer, I have a particular login to Payslip, and this is my view. I am on the payroll team at my company. My vendor, my in-country provider, they can also log into Payslip. And I've pre-logged in here. They'll have 2-factor authentication and so on, a text message before they log in. But on this tab, I've logged in as my Dutch payroll provider. I'm going to switch to that now. And I logged in before this webinar, obviously. And you will see I haven't yet refreshed this page. So as far as they're concerned, it's still at step A. They did get an email reminder. So I'm going to refresh this page and I will see those updates. Time savings didn't work in the end. What are the chances? Give me 1 second, I'll log back in here again. And what we're going to see is that they have received the inputs. They are going to get any notifications about notes or communications left, and they're going to download that file in their format and upload it to their payroll engine. Mark, if you'd like to jump in just for a second, I'll type in my code if you don't mind.
I'm enjoying this demo of 2-factor authentication, Nigel.
You're very welcome. So here I am logging in as our payroll provider, IML Payroll Services. They manage a lot of our payrolls as it coincides, but I'm just going to drill into the Dutch payroll here. So this is what they will see. They've refreshed the page, or they've received a notification to say, aha, it's moved to step C. The inputs are now ready, and they can choose for this Dutch entity to download the inputs into the format that they've told us that they would like to see them in. And they will then bring that to their Sage or their Datev or whatever Zucchetti engine that they're using. Depending on the country, they can upload that directly into that tool there. So they will have a pay run file sitting here for them. It's very straightforward. This is just going to be our default template. If you guys want to look at that, it will call out. Just opening it here. As you saw on the previous screen, it's got all of the in system. It's got all of the same layout. It's got the employees listed here by default, but you'll notice down here the different tabs. And we try, when they use our default template, to call out any changes. So if this was actually a payroll with 1,000 employees, you wouldn't have to go through the entire file looking for just the changes. You could come to the joiners tab. Aha, here's our friend Mark. He's listed in the joiners tab with all of his information listed along here, called out separately to the other 8 employees who have been tenured for quite some time. Any notes, as you saw, also captured here as well. So this is the type of file. We can produce this in any format. If you're using ADP Streamline, it could be an ADP Flexi form. Very simple for us to transform this data because it's structured so easily. Excellent. Let's get back to the platform. I want to complete this step. So I'm going to produce gross to net version 1. It just so happened I prepared one earlier. It might not be perfect, but it should be good enough for this demo. I'm going to upload a gross to net file. So this is one option that your payroll providers can use. They can log in and upload it if they are keen to do that. Otherwise, they can drop this to a file location, just like Workday does, and we can bring it in automatically. So here's my gross to net file for March for the Netherlands entity. I'm going to choose to notify Stephen. So remember, I've logged in here as somebody who works at a Dutch payroll ICP. And I'm going to choose to notify Mr. Stephen Jones here. He's the person I've logged in as. And on the gross to net tab here, I see that I have now, my name is Simon, it seems, I have now uploaded here just this minute, this Dutch gross to net file. I'm also going to upload the payslips now as well, just to keep things moving along. I have a payslips file pre-prepared, so it's based on those gross to net calculations. So I'll upload this, and we'll come back to this one in a moment as well, as I'm here. So opening and uploading this. Once again, hey Stephen, email notification, Simon has uploaded payslips and a gross to net file. Payslips now sitting here. And my last action is to mark the workflow complete. That click and save is very important for the in-country providers. The time I did that, the date, what data I uploaded, that's all tracked. So you can monitor, and they have the protection of knowing when exactly they completed actions. So if they complete things late, it will be tracked. If you provide inputs a little bit late, that's also monitored, and you can see how your teams are doing. The workflow here is fully auditable, and we can look at that report perhaps on another webinar. Okay, my action is done. The next is in a little bit of time. So I can park this. This is the ICP portal, IML services in Netherlands. I'm going to leave this, and I'm going to head back here to the Payslip portal, where I'm logged in once again as Stephen. I work for my Dutch entity on the payroll team. So keep an eye on this action, 0 out of 2 complete. I do need to refresh this page. Didn't get logged out this time. Fantastic. And now we have a little bit more completion here. You can see that the payroll partner have completed this step. And once again, it's back to me to review that gross to net file. So let's have a look at that. A lot of things have happened in the background here. And I'm going to pause on that for maybe 3 or 4 minutes just to show you that too. And then we'll get to Workday. The payslips, keep an eye on them. Very important that they travel back to Workday. But first, we need to review that the calculations are correct. A lot of clicking here, apologies. This would happen on a live demo, of course. So we can talk through this. I can see here, I'm logged in as Stephen, that my partner has uploaded a gross to net file. There's that file. Let's have a little look at that first. this is going to be in their format. It's likely in Dutch, and it won't look like what we sent to them. It's what was spit out from their tool. And if we open this guy, you're going to see my employees, the amounts we sent them, the inputs, as well as the calculation. So let's hope and pray that nothing else goes wrong. And here we are. This is the file that they uploaded. So here are my 9 employees listed. You'll see our new joiner lives here once again. And like I mentioned, this is typically in Dutch. And if I scroll across past net income and those types of things, here are the inputs that I sent them. And if I keep scrolling, I see that they have provided calculations, taxes, pension amounts, and so on. Deductions for pension are all listed here. Payslip, first of all, runs validations on this file. The first thing we check is, okay, we sent them 9 employees. Did they send us 9 employees back? Did they remember our new joiner and remember our leaver? The number of employees might be 9. They could have a leaver and a joiner. They might have missed those 2 people. Do the IDs, so this person's ID, does that still correspond with that person's name? If they swap them around, we might put the wrong data in the wrong column for the wrong person. We're going to check that and not progress if there are issues like that. We're also going to check things like total amounts. So if I sent them car allowance is worth 700, I'm making sure that they've sent me 700 back. In my case, something, of course, has gone wrong. So let's have a little look at that validation report and figure out what happened. This is not planned. So Mark, you can help me out here too if you see.
It's the pay slips didn't go back in properly, Nigel, yeah? No?
We'll see.
I'm misinterpreting it, sorry.
So here is the list of validations we ran on this gross to net file. There you see things like number of employees. We sent them 9, we should get 9 back. Successfully passed. Names, checks, and so on, those are there. Let's see what failed. The list of pay and tax elements with variances between our file and Payslip's file vary. So something has failed there. Let's check our detailed validations report. If I scroll down, I've made some deliberate errors, and in this case, I have accidentally triggered the wrong validation. So what has happened here is it's telling me we sent them commissions totaling, I think, 0, and they have deliberately, sent back commissions with 100, because I wanted to show how we would catch those types of variances in our analysis tool, but our validation has actually triggered that first. So I'm going to quickly fix that. I'll show you what was wrong here in just a second. So commissions is 0 in the gross to net file, actually. And if I go back to Payslip, let's see what our commissions amounts were. I think this is a good demonstration, Mark. It's always good to see.
I'm very impressed, yeah.
There's
1,000, yeah.
Go wrong. So what has happened here, and I wanted to show this a different way, but our validation has picked up that we sent up a total commissions amount of 1,000, and they've sent back commissions of 0. So of course the taxes for Mr. Graf here are going to be incorrect. They've omitted €1,000 of his pay packet.
So there's a mismatch there. Our validation tool, our AI engine, is comparing the data that we sent out, the critical data, with the data that came back in. So the commission is a gross value. It's a pre-calculation value, and the value that came back from the ICP did not have the commission in it. So that's why it failed.
Great. Our attendees are getting more than they bargained for today. You're getting to see extra tools that we weren't planning on demoing, so good stuff.
Let me update the file here and give Edgar a €1,000 commission. I'll ignore the fact that that has a knock-on impact on his taxes and just get this working for now. So let's re-ingest this. I'm going to log back in as Mr. Payroll Partner. I'm going to upload gross to net version 2 because that one failed. So in this scenario, this particular failure, this was the fault of the in-country provider. So you would notify them, you would tell them, there's been a failure here. We want to get gross to net version 2. Please correct it with this issue fixed. So they will come back in and upload version 2 of the file and reshare it with you. Those validations take about a minute to run. So now we will hopefully see that Edgar's commission in our pay run file matches Edgar's commission in the gross to net file.
I'll buy you a beer. I'll buy you a beer, Nigel, if this works.
It does. You can do all the testing you want, but if you move it to March, you just have to go with the flow. It's interesting though. The process here, I guess I didn't drill into it fully. So if there was an error like that, you see an unsuccessful gross to net file, Payslip has not approved it. You have a couple of options. First, you could say, I don't want that validation to run. I could say, I just want to get the file and the data in. So you could come to our integrations control center here, and you can mark that validation as not a stopper. So in that scenario, you would notify me something's amiss, but you wouldn't stop the file ingesting. So the data would still come in that scenario. Alternatively, you can do what I did, and you can go to the notes section, tell them I have an issue with this particular amount. You could even revert, and this is the process here. You would revert this version 1 back and request version 2. In the reversion here, you fill in information relating to whether you're asking a question or you want a whole new file. You choose the reason. In this case, they have given you the incorrect calculations. You'd write your note and so on, and that will alert them. I'll shortcut that given our time constraints today. So we'll come back here, we'll refresh, and I will hopefully be getting a beer from Mark in just a minute. Nothing like a bit of pressure. Aha, thank you. I will take a hazy German beer, please, Mark.
The drone is on its way.
Down to Cork, thank you. So this second gross to net version 2 was successfully imported. So you can see here, it was run 2 minutes ago. That mapping report this time passed. You saw the error. We've happily been able to fix it. Thankfully, there was just one error. So when I come, my job as Stephen is to review those calculations. I'll come in here and I will see, aha, I can't make any more changes to my inputs. I can't change this from 150 to 1,000 unless I unlock the file, make the input and close it, and then resend that to my provider. But that is all tracked. So these are locked for now. If I scroll across, I can start to see all of the taxation, the gross pay amounts from that gross to net file, the Dutch file, being translated here back into our terminology with our local language and our global English terms on top of them. So they're all listed here. Mark Simons, not to be confused with the Mark Simons on this webinar, is due to get paid about €4,600. I don't know if they have correctly used the right amounts or if these calculations are correct, but there are analysis tools, unfortunately, that we can't automate, but analysis tools that allow me to compare the inputs I sent at 4:20 on this webinar here with the gross to net file that they sent back 4 minutes ago. So in this scenario, you will see I did want commissions to show here as well, but I have made some mistakes and I've turned off the validation on those particular columns. So in this scenario, our previous pay run here for car allowance was €850. We said this month is 1,100 because we have a new joiner, the value's gone up. But for some reason, they've only accounted for €1,000 in those calculations. So if I see here, I've got just my variances. This is everything that's in the file. You'll see my previous pay run was 8 people, headcount. This time it's 9. Those all match. You just want to look at variances and look for errors and mistakes. I'll turn that on and I will look and drill into my car allowances problem. And I will see here that Jan was supposed to get 500 quid in her car allowances. She's only getting 400. So I know that her calculations are going to be off. The taxes are going to be wrong because they've used the wrong input. This is where in the demo, I would show you how a reversion works. I would say, I'm not happy with Jan's calculation. You've used the wrong amount. This is your fault. Please correct it and provide, in this case, version 3 of the input of the gross to net. And you'll see here, our incentive bonus is off as well. I definitely turned this validation off. This person was supposed to get 100 of a incentive bonus and they're getting 0. In summary, this tool, our clients love it, thankfully, and we're constantly iterating it. There is more to show here and there's more coming in our release next week because we're getting lots of feedback and extra things we could add. But in summary, the things that Payslip is unable to automate, that sort of data science work that your teams need to do. They might be doing this manually, going through things with a ruler, using VLOOKUPs. Instead, we're taking away as much of that manual work away from them and letting them see variances like this on their screen. There could be a reason why this was reduced. They might know something that Payslip doesn't. This is the reason why we surface those types of things up. Our team is doing less manual work, instead focusing on accuracy being the benefit here. Excellent. Enough on the gross to nets, thankfully. I want to show you that the payslips I uploaded are also living here in the Payslip platform. So our in-country provider uploaded this payslips file here. And when I'm happy with these, I'll move the payslip, I'll move the pay run forward. Let's imagine I'm happy with those variances in the gross to net file, but this is the payslips file they've also provided. So I see Mark squinting in here. This is just obviously very generic template I've created. We're not an in-country provider, so we're not going to put real looking ones here. But this is Lottie, one of the employees. You will notice that I have maybe accidentally spelled her name incorrect. In our pay run file, our eagle-eyed viewers will have seen there's 2 Ks in her surname, something we might pick up later. Scrolling down, you'll see there's several pages here. I'm just going to scroll until I find our new joiner. We saw that, he's probably last, there he is. We saw that in his gross to net file, his net pay was something like 4,600. Here it is again. This has been delivered from our in-country provider to the Payslip platform, this PDF file with 9 pages. What we want to do is we want to push that, and this is a Payslip philosophy, is push that all the way back into your Workday platform. To get your full ROI from Workday, you should be doing this for all of your employees, a singular, unified experience. And that's what we talk about here when we come back to the slides for just a moment. We want to push those automatically. So your payroll partner will hopefully deliver them automatically to an SFTP location. Payslip will validate them. Once again, check that there's 9 pages for 9 employees, that the IDs and the net pay amounts, all that stuff match. And when you're happy with them, which I will do now, we'll push those back into Workday. And you will see then that your employees can log in and view their payslips right in Workday. So without any further ado, what I'm going to do is, I know there's a payslips file here. I'm going to move this payroll forward just a touch. I'm going to complete this and move this to step D. And this is where we start to work on the actual payslips. So once I've moved to this step, I know that Payslip is going to start, the Payslip platform is going to start processing these payslips. I've just refreshed here, apologies, I froze. And what's going to happen is we're going to run validation reports on those payslips, and we're going to deliver those to a place for Workday to pick them up. So you'll see now that there's an HCM report. This one is super simple. Please don't get too excited here, Mark. But this just tells me that these PDFs, number of files are 9, that they have been uploaded successfully through SFTP to the HCM. Very straightforward. That's just a simple success or fail report. And then there's this. This zip file contains all of the PDFs broken out one by one. We can't upload 9 payslips to one person. Instead, we break them out one by one. We can read a PDF in that manner. And we have, again, a report here that's opened on my wrong screen that shows you all of the validations that we ran. So this is a more detailed report. Here's the execution date. But this tells me if there was employees missing, files validations. You've got a long report here. It tells you what we use to identify the employee and then the secondary identifiers. Scrolling down, 9 employees with 9 payslips. Perfect. One thing to quickly show you. Here's everybody. Keep going. Here, we found a discrepancy. However, this, again, wasn't a hard blocker. It was just a warning blocker. We see some of our clients enable this in Holland, given that some of the surnames can change depending on whether you're looking at a middle name and surname and so on. But in this scenario, I have deliberately misspelt Lottie's surname. So here was her employee ID. I'll double check that in a second, but employee ID was true. Her first name was correct in the payslip, but in her payslip file, check for her surname was not accurate. So that one failed, along with this person, which we can have a look at as well.
I'll tell you who that is. I'm eagle-eyed. That's me. I think it went from MARC to MARK.
Ah,
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It's never happened, but it may happen yet.
That's great to know. Let's double check. So in our pay run file, this is what it's checking against. So Lottie Backer, double K. And then Mark Scheinman's, MARC, if you're correct. And where do we have the payslips open? Here they were. So, I did not make this one deliberately. Here we are, Mark Simon spelled incorrectly. So the first name check has failed on this person. However, again, not a blocker. We checked these items, and those are more important, as well as their ID. We checked mostly that it was not the wrong person's payslip. And here, Lottie, you'll see again that her surname was single K, not 1K. Okay, so payslip has now checked the payslips. You've seen these types of reports that we're running, the validations, some of them soft, some of them hard fails. I've made some of these soft.
Just for the benefit of the folks at home, Nigel, obviously if the names were misspelt, that in the real world that you'd have that as a blocker, but you obviously said it as a soft check.
Last thing then for me, this is the final ta-da. I want to show that when Workday's 5-minute timeout isn't kicking me out, I want to show how we get those payslips back into Workday. So this would be an automated process. As you saw from the first report, those 9 payslips are now sitting on an SFTP location. Most of our clients tell Workday to pull those from that location on the night of payday. So all the employees can log in on the morning of payday and look at their payslips. You could do that a day earlier as well if you wanted. In this scenario, it's only February, so we're going to run this now to show you how those payslips get ingested. It's really very quick. So I'm manually now triggering our payslips import Workday process. So this is something set up for Workday. And I'm going to run this payslips import process. Sorry for the technicalities here, but this would usually be triggered automatically on the night of payday, like I mentioned. So this is processing. It'll only take about a minute or two. Percent complete is 25%. In the meantime, we can navigate to, here you are, our new joiner. And if this hasn't finished yet, which I don't think it has, on the payslips tab for this new joiner, it's going to say 0 payslips. So we'll give this another 20, 30 seconds, and we'll see that PDF file with the incorrectly spelled name pushed here, along with information from the gross to net file, like his gross pay and his net pay. So we can take all that information and push it back to Workday in real time. Typically not, but push that back on a scheduled automated basis. So let's have a look and see how successful we were here. Whew. This page has now changed slightly. I've hit refresh. So here we see that Mark now has, on the payment date of the 29th of March, he has his payslip added here. So I'm going to click this actual PDF file, and here we have it. When I was preparing, I was wondering if I could put a marker or some sort of identifier so you knew it was the exact payslip, but here we have, I've spelled his name incorrectly. And you'll see all that information is back here for our payroll team to look at, which I'm logged in as. And of course, this employee can log in via their own employee portal and view their payslip directly in Workday.
Well done, Nigel.
All from me.
Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you. I'm going to just jump onto one more slide for you here, Mark.
Yeah. Mark, if you could just talk us through what's next for payslip.
Sure, yeah. So just a couple of things on that. So we obviously work very closely with the Workday product management folks for the CCTPP product. And if any of you were at Rising last year, they announced a couple of enhancements or new features that they're adding to that product. And so one of them is the Global Payroll Processing Hub, GPPH. And this is a Workday screen where the progress of any payroll can be shown. So you saw on Nigel's screen where we show the kind of the dial of how the payrolls are going. On the Workday screen, there'll be a kind of a bar going across, a completion bar, and we will call the Workday APIs to populate that data. And that's the global payroll processing, which we like. When this feature was demonstrated at Rising, people cheered in the room I was taken aback. The other two features, data changes on demand. This is something new that Workday are talking about. Today, as we discussed, Peachy file is the preferred data exchange mechanism from Workday, but in the future, data changes on demand is a way where the data can be pulled from Workday via APIs as opposed to a file-based data transfer. The third one is additional payroll data, APD. And these, I always like to think of them as forms. So for example, the classic use case here is if you have employees in the Netherlands who have got company cars, for tax reasons, you'll need to know the car registration number, engine size, whether it's, I don't know, electric or diesel or whatever. And these, just a form that can be filled out. And that's what additional payroll data is. It's a way of filling that form out through a Workday screen rather than doing it directly on the vendor portal, for example. So anyway, so we're working closely with Workday to realize those three features, and hopefully we'll be able to be on stage with Workday next year at Rising and demonstrating those.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Mark. Okay, so I'm just going to take the last couple of minutes to answer a couple of questions that have come through, if that's okay. I might fire the first one over to you, Mark, as you're still on here. So who do you find are the key stakeholders to involve in a Workday deployment? We are due to start in Q3, and I want to make sure there are the right people involved.
Nice. Yeah, there's lots of stakeholders involved in any Workday deployment or in any global payroll deployment. Mm-hmm. So obviously you've got your HR folks, your finance folks, your Workday, your IT folks, so your people tech folks, and I always recommend that you have some executive oversight as well. Typically set up a steer co and have a friendly executive see what's going on. That's always a great way to resolve problems and keep things moving along. So, payroll is a part of the, life of a worker, the life of a company that touches pretty much every single part of the organization. So all of those stakeholders, InfoSec people, everybody needs to be involved.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I think you've kind of covered everybody there. Brilliant. Okay. Now, I think we probably have gone into more detail on this on the demo after this question came through, but maybe Nigel, if just have anything else to add, does Payslip track the variances between inputs from Workday and outputs? I think we got additional demo capabilities here today on that, but if there's anything else you want to add, please feel free.
Yeah, I guess just in summary, every input that comes into the Payslip platform automatically, that's what we hope to achieve when you implement with the Payslip platform. We're going to run automated validations on every single input so that you have complete trust in the data that's come in. Anything that is a duplicate or in error will be flagged to you and won't be ingested unless you want to have warnings rather than full blockers. But that's up to you. Very flexible and configurable there.
Brilliant. Okay. Another question has just come in here. Is there an interface to the GL, and how does the interface to the GL work? Yes. It's a whole other demo in its own right, but I'm sure when the guys here will happily jump in on that. Yeah.
Find out type questions. Yes, because again, we have our data structures. You have the gross to net file pulled in with all of those calculations in it, things you need for a finance system, ultimately, the results, payroll results. You can generate one of those at any point after the gross to net file has been uploaded. So you can preview that. You don't have to wait a week or 2 or 3. And then there's the automated way of doing it as well, which is phone ringing, of course. The automated way, which is what we prefer. If you're using NetSuite or Workday Financials or anything like that, we're going to automatically create a GL in that template. We've built lots of them before, and we can push that directly to your ERP of choice as well. So that's a big time saver. Finance teams generally enjoy that part of the demo, and happy to show you more if you'd like.
I think it's a great question. People often report to me that it takes a couple of weeks after pay run before they have the GLs. I can never quite understand that. And what we're doing here is radical, right? So we are providing a place for all the data to live, and that means the data can be reported on. So we're able to produce the GL reports as soon as we get the trial gross to net even, right? And that's really important what we're doing here. Putting the data in one place, automating on the integrations, automating the workflows, automating the validations. it really saves a huge amount of time for global payroll people. And it actually is life-changing for them. It changes the role. You know, as Rob Bolt said the other week, it allows the global payroll team to become strategic leaders inside their organization, because there's so much payroll data. You know, an example I always like to use is, you know, you might employ a person in let's say Spain for a base salary of let's say 100k euros, right? But the employer costs in Spain are higher than potentially in other countries because of tax regimens on employer taxes. And because of we having the gross to net data back from the ICP, we're capturing all the employer taxes. And that's data that you wouldn't necessarily see even in Workday, because Workday may not capture the total cost of having that employee, because it may not capture in the HCM part of it all those additional costs that you may not have thought of. And so by having all that data in one place, it allows the global payroll team to really help the finance function and really add value to the organization. We're liberating global payroll people. It's not just about, you know, putting a ruler across a spreadsheet and looking for, you know, anomalies and numbers. The machines are here to help. They can do all that for you. We're allowing people to add value, and that's it. That's a game changer.
Nice addition there, Mark. Thank you for that. There's one last question we do have time for, so I'll try and squeeze it in if that's okay. Do I need a certified Workday consultant to design, build, and test the Payslip integration?
Maybe I'll take that. So not really, right? So we have built the certified connector. It's what Workday call single integration multi-country, SIMC. And so our connector works for every country in the world because we do the transformation on our side. And so what the customer needs to do then is just deploy that connector in their tenant. That takes like 5 minutes, and obviously run a bunch of tests. We're not Workday consultants, so you do need to have Workday qualified people to operate inside the Workday tenant, but you don't need to design, build, and test. It's already designed and built. You just need to test.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Look, I'd like to thank you both personally for your time today. It's been great. It's been a very insightful live demo, and I think you can tell that now by the engagement on our questions and the number of people that have attended. And to all of our attendees, thank you so much for that. We have a team of people ready to talk to you. You'll get your follow-up emails in the next couple of days, and anyone that specifically wants a recording, please reach out and we'd be very happy to share that with you. I've noted already the ones that have requested it in different chats and things like that here today, so we'll get that out to you straight away. But if anybody else wants any more information or a recording to share with their team, please let us know. So on that note, thank you very much, everybody, and have a gorgeous afternoon and day. Thank you.
Thank you.